Hello everyone and welcome to Matcha Morning Club, a cozy lifestyle podcast hosted by your two favorite besties, Alex and Viktoriia.
Hi everyone, and today we are sipping on a slightly newer kind of matcha for us. We've got, a classic iced matcha, but this one is from Perfect Head and it's vanilla flavor. It has a pretty, you can smell it even from being quite watered down and iced. So it's quite nice, and it's a nice maybe beginner matcha, I would say. Today, I think is a very relaxing episode in a way. We are talking about books. It's a Bookish bestie episode where we'll talk about the books that we both like to read. We also had a challenge set up for each other to read a book of our choice. So Alexa was reading the book I recommended and I was reading the book Alexa recommended. So we'll discuss that. We'll maybe touch on what BookTok is and stuff like that. So this is perfect for everyone who loves reading, which is, I think, is quite a lot of people.
Yeah, and especially, with holidays coming very soon, I think a lot of people are probably on holidays already or going soon. Nothing better than having a wee read on the beach. So hopefully you're going to find your next recommendation here and join us later on the socials because we'd love to discuss more. But let's start. Is there anything you're reading at the moment, Vi?
So right now I'm actually finishing a very long series of The Throne of Glass. I'm on the last book and I'm about 45% through. I can't remember the actual book title, but it's 7 books from the Throne of Glass series. And I'm actually very excited to finish it because I've been at it since January. 7 books, which I think I'm doing pretty well because I'm quite a slow reader in a way. Sometimes I don't read for a week and then I read every day for a week. So yeah, what about you?
Well, at the moment, to be honest, I am in a bit of a reading slump, which happens to the best of us. But at the time that we're recording the episode, tomorrow morning, I'm flying for my holiday. So I'm going to take my Kindle with me and I'm hoping to dive into some books. But speaking of reading slumps, is there any type of books that help you to get out of it? If you don't feel like reading, what would you reach for?
Or it has to be a very easy read. It has to be something, sometimes even the story that I can almost tell the ending, but it has all of these twists. Sometimes that's what people, I think on BookTok, call it a beach read, that you are supposed to finish that book within a week that you're on holiday, so easy to read. And maybe it's the one, something like It Ends With Us series, so it starts with us, because I read that within a week. I was so hooked. Whereas I think things romantasy fantasy is a bit harder to read because they're so long and thick.
Yeah.
Because they're very big books, and unless you're a very fast reader, it's very difficult to finish at once. I would say maybe easy, light romance books is quite nice. I know a few people who read really old history books, but that's very niche.
That's so random.
I've seen people reading Homer is that how you say it? On a holiday.
I mean,
Which is or maybe a collection of novels, short little stories for a day.
Oh yeah, that could also work.
That's what I would say.
Fair enough. I definitely agree with the fantasy stuff because I think anything set up in some sort of made up magical world is more difficult because you kind of have to get a grasp of how the world works, especially if there's I know not every fantasy book is like this, but some of them are really complicated, the systems. So it kind of take a lot of thinking to, and then the characters are usually named weird. So to figure out who's who and what the rules of the world are, it might be difficult. My go-to is a bit on the other end of the scale, but I would go with a crime book, but not something fantastic. Your typical beach crime mystery book, something that will hook you in really quickly. And, it doesn't have to be phenomenal, but just makes you want to turn the pages and learn who did the killing or whatever. That usually gets me out of a slump. So while we are on topic of genres of books because there's so many. What are your favorites? What are your go-tos?
So, as Alexa will know, I'm currently in my fairy smut era. And yeah, it started almost a year ago now in September. Started with the classic Akotar, and I think quite a lot of people got into the genre because of that book. Well, I did, for example, and because it was so famous, and then it snowballed into me like reading the whole series of 5 books, and then another series of 7 books. So at the moment, that's kind of like all I read. I'm usually also like a easy romance kind of gal. I had my struggles with self-help, self-development books. I have probably about 3 started, but also I think those are kind of books that I can easily get back into if I need to because there's no story as such. So
Yeah.
you can easily then, learn your lessons from the books, and they're not meant to be read continuously anyway. But fairy, fantasy romanticy is kind of what I'm into. I never thought I would be into those kind of books because every time my dad used to be into it when he was younger, not fairy smart, fantasy stuff. I don't think fairy smart was a thing at that time.
Probably not.
He used to read a lot of like fantastical kind of like spaceships, that kind of
Oh, like
stuff,
sci-fi.
like sci-fi more than actually fantasy. And I was like, not my vibe
Yeah.
until then Akotar happened, and now I feel like I can read almost anything. What about yourself?
What I read the most probably will be crime of some sorts, crime, mystery, thriller. Purely, I think, because they are so easy to read for me. And I listen to the true crime podcasts. It's kind of like of interest. But a couple of years ago, I decided to expand my tastes a little bit. So I am trying different genres. I do read self-help as well, but it's also very hit and miss. And like you said, you don't have to. It's hard to read it sometimes, like as a whole book. But the good thing about self-help is like you can kind of
Yeah.
pick it up whenever, and or you can even read some chapters. You don't have to read through it all sometimes. So that's really good. Yeah, I'm trying to kind of expand, and I'm glad because I found some books that I really enjoy that probably I would have never read otherwise. So literary fiction, which I have love and hate relationship with because they are usually quite hard hitting and really good books. But because the plot is very slow or non-existent, it's sometimes hard to get into them. Are there any genres you don't like or you just don't?
I don't think there's anything I don't like, or maybe like some things that I've maybe not never even read before that I don't know about that I might not like. There are certain books that I'm like, I wish I could be the person who reads it, but I'm just not.
Like what?
So it's like history books.
All
Like
right.
when I first moved to Scotland, I bought this very thick book that's like a history of Scotland, and I still until this day want to start it, but it's just something like I can't. Like my granddad would always read books about like war and history, and I want to be the person to know all these things, but I just can't be. To be fair, on the topic of what I don't like reading, and that also applies to movies for me, I don't like anything about the war. The
Same.
the World War II in particular, because when we were at school, it was literally drilled into us. Like every time we need to learn about the war, I'm like, but how many times and how many things we need to learn about this? I wanna my reading to be pleasant. I don't want to hear about. Yeah, I just don't want to hear the negative parts of the war.
Oh my god. Exactly the same. And you know what? That's quite interesting because, like you said, it's war, but Second World War specifically. Because one of my favorite books of all time is war related, which is shocking, but it's the Vietnam War, which was very interesting because growing up in Poland specifically, you know, we were quite close with World War Two.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had it drilled into us, and we had to watch movies, and we had to read books, and you kind of know it inside and out. But because there's such a strong push and focus on
Yeah.
that particular war, because it's a part of our history, like stuff like Vietnam War, I knew nothing about. So my problem with a lot of war books is there is a lot of graphic depiction of violence, which I mean,
Yeah.
it's war, so it is
Expected
what it is.
almost.
but also you know what war entails. So I quite like the book I'm talking about is I believe it's called The Mountains Sing. It's
Mm-hmm.
by a Vietnamese author. And by the way, she wrote it in English, which is her second language. I don't know how she's done it. It was
Mm.
stunning. And another book of hers, Dust Child, is equally as beautiful in my opinion, and also touches on the Vietnam War.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really good historical fiction and a lot of learning of the history and the time there, and yeah, absolutely beautiful. Another one is Pachinko, which is the Korean
Oh, I
War.
remember you mentioned that one,
And
yeah.
yeah, so like I'm not opposed to a war. I think I'm just sick of Second World War.
Yeah, that one in particular, like when I was kind of like watching Outlander, I was actually very interested in like the Battle of Culloden and that
Hmm.
kind of stuff. I don't know if I pronounced it right. And maybe like a little bit more of the US Revolution, and those kind of things. I think it's just because there was so much about the World War II that I'm like, let me learn about some other one.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. So for me, the war, World War II specifically, is a no-no. I am not a romance
Mm,
book lover. I really want to give it a try. There is this author, maybe you heard of her, Emily Henry. She's
mm,
all over BookTok, and
mm.
people swear by her books. Apparently, they're so good.
Okay.
So I'm kind of tempted to like step out of my comfort zone again and give it a try. But the last time I was reading a romance book, it infuriated me. Like the characters were so stupid.
Oh God,
Do you
yeah.
remember it? We both read it, and I was like, this is perfect. It was like a Christmas romance set in Edinburgh, and I was like, I'm going to read it in December. It's going to be magical. It was so not magical. I
It
gave
was
up.
just
Half,
average.
yeah, I gave up halfway through. I couldn't stand the main character. I was like, no one would want to date her anyway. And there was two guys wanting to date her. I was like, this is so unrealistic. She's just a moany
Yeah,
person.
it was like we could predict whatever happens next, which is sometimes fine in the book, if you want
Yeah.
something. But that one was just like no shade on the author, but I don't think it was their best work.
No, probably not. And like again, I'm just not a huge fan of the genre, just for me personally.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I would really like to try. So if you have a favorite Emily Henry book, because I'm sure someone read Emily Henry because she's huge
Mm.
now, give your recommendations, and I might add it to my summer 2025
Okay.
reading list. I might get it from my Kindle. Right. But now that we're on topic of any particular books, maybe we can share our favorites, like books, authors.
Mm. I feel like it's a weird sort of realization, but now that the book talk got so popular, I almost feel like I'm not experienced enough in books to like have a favorite author. Like I feel like I haven't read enough to be like, oh yeah, he or she is 100% my favorite. I mean, not gonna lie, because for the last year I've only been reading Sarah J. Maas, so we're gonna have to like
Yeah.
say that we do have an author. Well, he died well over 200 years ago in Ukraine, Taras Shevchenko, and he is one of well the most decorated and famous author in Ukraine. And his stuff is genuinely very good. It's very well written. It's been translated on pretty much all languages in the world. But like I do have to tell you, it's not like modern stuff. But it is very beautiful. And if I have to like going back and read some of the school stuff, I would read that, the poems, etc. But yeah, I think like I'm just gonna have to say Sarah J. Maas at the moment. I would like to find like my favorite author of all times because I think there has to be something out there for me. So if people are sharing their favorite authors online, like I would love to hear who yours are, if your tastes are similar to mine, and maybe I'll find mine.
You see, I think with the rise of like booktube and book talk, I am really happy. I saw some comments about being people being like, oh, romantic is trash, this is
Mm,
trash, like people are reading shit book. I am so happy people are reading.
yeah, a lot
Like
more.
I liked reading forever. Like my mom is a huge reader, and I think she told me she read like almost 80 books last year.
Wow,
Mind
that's
you,
a
she's
lot.
unemployed now, like she's retired, so she has a lot of time. But yeah, she loves reading, and she kind of ingrained it into me. So we can maybe touch upon that as well. for most people, their first encounter with books is through school, which means it's a chore. It's
Yeah.
something you have to do. And those books very often are not really like they're classics, but they're not really something you'd want to read when you're 14, 15. So I am so grateful that in my household, I saw my mom reading books and treating it as like a hobby, as
Yeah.
something nice to do for yourself. To me, it was quite kind of natural, and I always like to read. A lot of people are rediscovering reading now as adults, and I'm like, read whatever you want.
Yeah.
If you want to read romantasy, especially like you have a job, you're tired, some you want to like transform yourself to a different like
Yeah,
magical
world, yeah.
world, and it's fun, and that's the magic of books. It takes you somewhere else. It shows you different worlds, real or imagined. And yeah, so I am taking no like book talk and like easy read slander, because read whatever you want, read whatever you like. There's something for everyone. Just because you're reading the classics doesn't make you a better person.
That's why I feel like sometimes, it often happens like maybe not in my current work setting, but before you would ask people at work, like, what are you reading? And especially like people who are maybe more senior than you, they will tell you like, oh, I'm reading this like super difficult book. And then they will also mention like, oh, it's quite difficult to read, but I'm enjoying. And I'm like, right, cool. So let's make everyone know shit about it. And I think that's what Book Talk is doing in a way. Like, there are a lot of absolutely crazy readers who read like 3 books a week, etc. And they make me feel bad sometimes because I'm like, well, first of all, I don't have time to read that much. Like, I'm not going to read for 4 hours a day.
But
Because,
that's their job. Like, people will be booktubers, book talkers. That's their whole thing. So obviously they're gonna keep reading. They receive a lot of books. They don't have
yeah,
to buy them. Books
for
are not
reviews and
cheap.
stuff.
Exactly. So it's kind of the same. So if you had, we work for 8 hours a day on
Yeah.
average. So if you had that 8 hours to like, you can read for 4, and then the other 4, you just like
Yeah, did your
record
content
content
or
and
whatever,
stuff.
yeah.
Exactly. So I know, but I think there is a lot of shame around book reading of certain genres and certain types, and I do not stand for this. I really dislike this. Especially so in Edinburgh we have this huge book festival in August, which I went to with my friend last year. And she goes, I never, mind you, she's from like Edinburgh, outside of Edinburgh, but like really close, and she lived here most of her life. She's like, oh, I didn't know they're doing this like cute little book festival. And I'm like, girl,
Is it not one of the largest, like, in the
it
world or
is.
something?
It's one of the like most important book festivals. There's hundreds of offers, huge offers coming every year. Like it's massive, and it's an amazing event. But we went last year, and I love it, but it was really sad to see that most of the people there were elderly.
Yeah, and maybe, hopefully, that's changing now with, like, Book Talk.
They sent me, because I'm signed up to their newsletter, and they, after the last year festival finished, they sent kind of like a survey. And one of the questions were like, what to change? And I kind of quoted it. I was like, I think you need to get on Book Talk. I think you need to get, there's this guy I watch, Jack Edwards. Love Jack. 10 out of 10 across the board. Get Jack Edwards to come to Edinburgh and like do something. Like get young people, because people, it's not even that they don't want to come. It's like my friend, she
Yeah, they
really
don't
loved
know
it.
it's
She
available.
didn't know it was happening. So I think outside of that bubble, yeah, you need to expand, and you need to maybe, like, a 20-year-old is not going to sign up to your newsletter. They want to see a wee TikTok and see who's coming. One of the, I'm sure you've heard of it, the book Babel. I'm sure you've seen it on TikTok.
No.
Maybe not. It's a huge book. Or Yellowface.
Yes.
R.F. Kuang.
Yes.
R.F. Kuang's coming. I'm going to see her. But yeah, she's coming. She's huge. And
Yeah.
she's so popular with younger people too. Anyway, if you're in Edinburgh in August, don't only go to Fringe.
Stuff.
Check
Book
out
festival.
Book Festival. And you can even go and like browse the bookshop. They have the bookshop, and
The
they have
bookshop
like
is nice.
and it's like such a nice, quiet area. Like you can, much more chill than
Yeah.
all the fringe madness. So let's maybe talk about our reading habits
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like it's one thing, like it's what you read, but the second bit is how you read.
Yes.
So where do you read the most? Where are your spots?
My bed. Most of the time I read in bed before I go to sleep and bus. If I'm taking a bus to work, which maybe happens like once a week, I will read on a bus. Or like at least like one of like either the trip to the office or back to the office. Not many other places. Or unless like we have a long road trip, but that doesn't happen very often because I usually drive. What about you? I think you're
Bed or sofa?
yeah.
So either here, literally how where I sit. I even bought like a lamp,
Yeah, that's
especially
nice.
for the corner, so I can read here. I also started, speaking of, I started doing it. So, you can go on YouTube and you can search this like mood
Oh, I
reading.
love
So
that.
you can put the video and they have it like I don't like reading in the midnight court
Yeah.
or whatever it was called. And there's like a really nice music in the background and there's or like a little fireplacey
Yeah, I
cafe
love those
vibe.
things. I love those things even just for like putting on for work. And like I had like spring birds like songs on the background as I was doing my presentation. It
Yeah.
makes a difference. And I think for reading, especially now I'm thinking about this, I might try it for the second half of my Front of Glass series book. I will put on like a something vibey for what's happening there and then see if that actually boosts my imagination maybe.
Yeah, that's another thing. I like obviously reading's great wherever, but I sometimes like to make it like a thing. So I will like make sure like after I clean, for example, I know that like the space is clean and I'll put on TV like the matching vibe video music and I'll make myself a really nice beverage and like put it here. This is my reading corner. I have little shelves so I can put my beverage. I can put the book as well if I want to take a break. And yeah, I'll like light up a candle, like I make it a whole thing. It
Yeah.
honestly it makes it so nice just to like set up the ambience. Do you prefer to read physical books or on your Kindle? Because I know you have a Kindle.
Yeah, so for the majority of my life, I used to be like a solid, it has to be a paper book, or otherwise I will not read it. It doesn't feel like a real book. That was me for a very long time. And then because I then started reading in bed quite a lot, it's genuinely uncomfortable to read like an actual book because then you need to like hold it, turn it, then one page is darker, the other page is lighter. It's just like, yeah,
Yeah.
my hands would get sore quite literally. So I asked for a Kindle as part of my Christmas list, and I got one now. It's probably like a year and a half ago, and I think that really helped me start reading more, just because I read on the bed. Yeah, so now I'm like a Kindle advocate. I haven't read like an actual physical copy. I think Akotar was the only one that I bought it and I
Yeah,
had read it, but after that I switched to Kindle. And also like it is cheaper to read on Kindle than
definitely.
actual books. Like most if you get like a Kindle Unlimited membership, it's like £8 a month or something, and you can literally download as much as you want. And they do like good promotions, like first 3 months for free or something like that. Whereas if you go to a physical store, you buy £10 a book, which for some people it might not be like doable. But obviously, I think if you can buy a book, like I would recommend supporting authors. But yeah, Kindle all the way now.
I was the same. I'm a mixed girl. So I have a Kindle, which I think for traveling,
Yeah.
unmatched. Also, I am really weird about my books. I like them to stay pristine. I do not
Yeah.
break my spines. Crime, jail. I like my books to look nice. So I don't want to really carry them in my bag. So I prefer Kindle for that because
Yeah, it's easier,
it's
it's lighter.
when you're lying in bed, like you said, because I like turn off all the lights as
Yeah.
well, so I can kind of fall asleep to my book. But I also love a physical book as well. It's really nice. So it depends what I'm in the mood for. But I also think, like you said, yeah, it's much cheaper. Well, once you get, but you can ask for the Kindle for whatever occasion, and then there are options. I don't have Kindle Unlimited, but I am signed up. So both Amazon itself, or there's I think it's called BookBub or something like that. You can sign up for a newsletter and they send you all the books that are in promotion. Like you get like a
Oh, nice, yeah.
daily email and like what books are like 99p. So I bought so many. I was laughing when we were like doing our mortgage application and you need to send them the list of like the account.
Yeah.
And like every other day there was like a 99p charge to Amazon and they're gonna be like, what is she spending money on? And I was like, it's
Kindle
just books. It's just books. But yes, we are still lucky because in the UK, actually, I saw these comparisons again on BookTok compared to like, I think America and Canada or like Australia, New Zealand. I'm speaking the English speaking countries, obviously. The books are quite cheap. Also, we have a lot of websites like and shops like The Works where you can buy books. They have the deal free books
Yeah.
for a fiver, which is a steal. A lot of supermarkets carry books in at lower prices.
Yeah, that's true. Supermarkets, and they also always have like the top 10.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah,
they will
yeah.
have like your most popular books.
So it's not like you have some old books that are not popular. You have the
Yeah.
actual new releases. For a paperback, it's like £5-6. And sometimes they also have like some deals like 2 for 9 or whatever. Waterstones is very often doing buy one get one half price for paperbacks as well.
Another point is actually very valid, and some people don't even realize that. I don't know how it works in other countries, but in the UK, your local library,
Free.
it's first of all, it's free. And a lot of them have this online free resource where you can download stuff on your Kindle. Well, not download, there's like lend.
Yeah.
So I actually signed up to my local library and they do have an audiobooks as well. It's all kinds of books. And if you have a login, you are literally, as a member that pays tax, as a member of the council, you are entitled to all of these books. So there is a way around of like, maybe you can't afford to keep buying lots of
yeah.
books. So, and your local library will often have those things that, someone bought this brand new book that's top 10 right now and then they finished it. I brought some books into my library because I know I'm not going to read them again. And I don't like keeping books as much. Like I like to have like 10, 20 at home.
In fact, publishers have to send books to
Oh,
libraries.
really?
So I think there's like
It's like a
an
public-
actual like percentage of books they're printing. There is in like a set amount of copies that they need to deliver.
That's interesting.
Don't quote me on that, but I read it somewhere. And I'm sure in big cities as well, because I used to use Edinburgh Library religiously for years before. And what is a great thing, you have an app. So basically there's like 12 or 13 libraries around Edinburgh. And if one library has a copy, but your local one doesn't, they can move them between libraries.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you just click on the app and then
really
they
cool.
send it to your library. You pick it up from yours and then you just return it to yours. So I remember you had to when you go to return it, they had 2 slots, one for the books that are from that
Stay there.
library. And,
Ah.
yeah. So yeah, it's just because let's say your local library is quite small. Just check if they don't do that because
That's
there might be like so many more books available, but you just don't know. And that's
good to
free.
know.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good to know. Do you finish every single book you start?
No, I'm not. And sometimes, I used to feel guilty about it because if I read a book and then I'm not really into it, even if I've read 30% of it, I'm still not into it, I would feel pressured that I have to finish it. I've started, I have to finish it. But most recently, someone told me that, well, why are you wasting your time on something that you don't like? As simple as a book. So I have started a few. And I did feel with some of them, I could finish it, but then there's so many other books that I would rather than read and finish. So yeah, I can abandon a book. And I probably have at least 5 in the last couple of years, and it's just there. And with some of them, I spoke to people and they said to me I loved it so much, but I just, I just didn't. It's a personal taste. What about you?
I used to be an absolute completionist. So if I say, but with everything, like TV shows, movies, you name it.
Yeah.
It took quite a long time for me to learn to just say, actually, this is not for me. I think with books especially because you buy them. So it's I just spent a tenner on this book.
Exactly.
So I kind of want to finish it. If it's really a no, then it's a no. And sometimes you have to give up. There's no point in pushing through it. And especially I also learned that most of the time, if I really push myself to finish something, then I'm in a reading slump because it really puts me off and I don't
Yeah,
want
then
to
you're
read
like,
again.
I don't want to start something new in case it's not great.
The next topic would be how you're choosing your next read. But I know you're reading a series, so
Yeah,
obviously
yeah.
there's no choice. You're just reading the next book. But you said you're coming to the end.
I am.
So now the question is, what is going to be your next read after you finish?
This is a tough question because I feel like, because I've spent almost like 6 months reading this series, I feel like I want something else. Like definitely a different author at the very least. Alexa's just given me the Fourth Wing books, so maybe that will be my next read. But I also, so one of my friends has kindly sent me 5 different books in Ukrainian from Ukraine. It's pretty much impossible to get here. You can only get like some dictionaries here in Ukrainian. So I was thinking, should I read a book in Ukrainian, because sometimes I feel like I miss my own language. And apparently they are very, very good. They're like some of the top books, and she sent me a nice little card explaining what like each book is. So I might give one of them a shot, like as a little break, and then probably come back to the fantasy stuff. I think I'm itching to come back to one of the self-help books I have. I have started the one that's Manifest the Life of Your Dreams. I read about probably like 30% of it, and there was like a few exercises that I had to do, and now I feel like I'm a bit further in my like career and life, and I want to see what else that book has to offer. So yeah, there's definitely like a few different things. What about you? I know you're a bit like, as you said, in the slump a little bit.
Yeah, I got some books on my Kindle that I'm quite excited about, so I'm gonna give them a bash when I'm away. But when I'm in Poland, actually, I want to buy a book. It's by Olga Tokarczuk.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
either you who told me about her, or I just,
possibly. She won the
she's quite
Nobel
famous,
Prize
yes.
for literature, and there's one book of hers, and I see it in Waterstones every time I go. But I have this rule in my head
But is it in
that,
English here?
well,
Yeah,
yes.
so
So my rule is if I can read it in the original language,
100%.
I'm reading it in the original language. So I really want to get that one of her books and give it a try. I have one of her books, and it is quite a difficult read, I found.
Okay.
But it's interesting, so that's definitely something that is on my list. I don't know if there's anything specific. I have an obnoxious amount of books at home
Yeah.
that I have not touched, so I should not, in fact, be allowed to buy anything else before I get through them. I'm not even mentioning the amount of books I have on my Kindle,
99B books.
the 99p books, because it's shameful, really. Well, someone said, buying books and reading books are two different hobbies. I like both. Unfortunately, I don't read as fast as I buy.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's quite a lot of books, and I'm thinking about making myself little, maybe at the beginning of the month, like pick like 5-6 books, not to read them in 1 month,
Yeah.
but just like, okay, out of
Then,
these,
yeah.
like these are my next choices, and maybe do little like
Yeah,
TikTok
that
videos.
will make you, yeah. I can totally see you being like a book talker, to be honest.
That's what Cameron said, but I don't think I read enough, and I go through really like I go like this. So like I think it was in January I read like 6 books, and I was like, I am smashing my goal, and
But
now
maybe,
I'm behind.
yeah, but maybe if you like start creating content about it, you maybe will want to read more.
Maybe that's true. So I might give it a try, but I definitely there is a couple of books on my radar that I really really want to read, and there's. I always think to myself, there's so many books and so little time, and I just, can't wait. But definitely, there is a self-help book I want to get to. It's called Dopamine Nation.
Oh, one of my friends told me about it. She said if you read it, it'll change your life.
Well, so
Like-
that's... And another one which actually ties with it very well, it's called Stolen Focus.
Okay.
So they're both on like that topic, and there's also another one called Body Keeps the Score, and it's like on how trauma stays within your body and stuff like that.
Difficult.
So difficult topics. So I'm like, I don't think I'm ready for the Body Keeps the Score yet mentally, but maybe I'm gonna try to switch it up a little bit.
So, as part of the preparation for this episode, we decided to kind of like maybe expand our tastes in books a little bit. So we gave each other a book to read that would be like our typical maybe pick of the book and see what we think about it. And maybe that's like something new we discovered. So obviously, I asked Alexa to read Akatar because that's the book that got me into the fairy stuff. So
Yeah.
I really wanted her to get into it as well because as I was in the thick of Akatar, which was last autumn, I didn't have anyone else to send those TikToks about Tamlin and all of these characters to. So I had to send them to Alexa, but she was like, girl, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Is the other, because there's another guy that starts with R.
Reese. Yeah.
Is he from the same books?
Yeah. You just didn't get to.
Is he going to appear in this book?
I think towards the end of it, but he's portrayed not in the way that he will end up in, basically.
Are they going to be in a love triangle?
No.
Okay.
No, I can yeah, they're not gonna.
Okay.
It's a very like.
I didn't finish my book.
That's fine. Yeah. So the first book is like, I think it's like a very good like love story of what happens at the start. So people who have read Akatar and further than that will understand. But like the story goes on like for ages, and I think Akatar series is much better than Throne of Glass because Throne of Glass goes on for 6 or 7 books, but I've never been as like held and gripped as I have in Akatar. But also Sarah J. Maas wrote Akatar later on in her life, so she was more experienced writer. So I feel like the stories are more developed. So yeah, that was my pick for Alexa. And even though she didn't finish it yet, what have your thoughts been so far?
So, first of all, just to preface this, it's not that I didn't finish it because I don't want to finish it. I really want to finish it. I've been in a god-awful book slump, and I was also like, I told you that, like snowed under with work. So when I came home, I just didn't want to read anything.
Fair.
It's not that book, no book. Silly TV shows was all I could take.
Relaxing.
Yeah, but I was surprised by it. I was surprised by it because I don't know why in my head, and I think it's something that maybe a lot of people need to check as well as me, because I'm not a huge romantasy person and romance person. So in my head, I was like, it's gonna be like a silly story, blah blah blah. It's actually a really nicely written book.
Yeah, it's well written.
It's well written. It's like the world building and like. Especially, I really enjoyed the very beginning of the story of the girl.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was really, really interesting. And, yeah, it's a good introduction. And I was like, this is a fun story, and I want to see what happens next. That's my only issue is, like, with the romantasy books, but it's all of them, and I think that's what people like. You know who she's gonna end up with. You know it. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe because that's the, like, crime... mystery person in me. I'm like, I don't want to know.
Because you are already like your
surprises, because I'm like, get to it. Like, why are you staring at each other? Why are you like, smiling from the, like, we know where it is gonna go.
I think that's one thing about Akatar series, because you're rooting so much for the characters you're falling in love with. You want them to end up with together, and you know they will. But it's how the author written it that you're literally like, you're having to sit there and wait and like gape at your book, because like sometimes like she makes things happen and you're like, oh my gosh, they're not going to be together. But then you know they will be. So it's like one of those things. And that's, I think, what I liked about it. I wouldn't say like, because obviously it's been quite a while since I finished the series. Like there are some unexpected twists and turns that you're like, oh, holy, like, are they actually gonna? But they will, they will.
Yeah.
And it's not like a spoiler in a way, because this book has done so many rounds on TikTok, everybody knows how it finishes in a way.
Yeah.
So.
I also, but that's, again, I think it's just the genre in general, and that's my bone to pick with all the authors. The descriptions of the men. I'm like, in the book, she keeps saying how he looks so scary. And like, after... certain amount of times because she's always like, oh, I just knew he could kill me at any second with one swipe of his claw. And I'm like, girl, we know, like, he's huge and scary but also sexy and hot, like, we get that. Like,
stop talking about
it. I'm like, oh, it's like, yeah, he's huge. I'm like, I know he has a huge claws. I've read it 10 times. The amount of like descriptions of the hot guy, and I was like, we get it. He is hot. So I kind of want to skip those bits. But other than that, it's really interesting, and I'm really curious to see where it goes. Will I finish the series?
Maybe not.
Maybe not. Purely because who needs like 7 books?
I know. And I think she's releasing a new one.
Actually, I am lying to you because I say who needs 7 books in the series? There is a series of books by a Scandinavian author. I believe she's Swedish.
Okay.
Her name is, I probably butcher it, apologies, Camilla Lagerberg. And the series has like 12 books at this point, and I've read them all.
Okay.
Mind you, I started kind of reading when she had like just couple out, so every time she releases one, I will kind of read it then. Like... So it's separated, and they're kind of like standalone in a sense that they have a different murder mystery.
Yeah, I think that's like reading almost 12 different books.
Yeah, exactly.
The ACOTAR story continues.
So maybe that's why, but I'll see. Well, I'll see. Maybe by the end of it, I'm gonna be so
maybe
hooked.
You will.
Book I picked for you, and I maybe will explain why, because at first I was thinking about maybe something a bit more literary, like the ones about the Vietnam War and stuff. But I think it's like if you're not used to it, sometimes it's just a hard read. So I was like, I'm gonna pick something that you might like because it happens in Edinburgh.
Yeah, and I really like that part because I think it really helps my imagination, and I think you were right about if it was set somewhere else, I maybe would have really struggled reading it. But because it literally starts with like I think it's Edinburgh in the 1700s or 1800s, forgot like that time. I could really picture the streets. Obviously, like Edinburgh now looks slightly different after the plague and all of that kind of stuff. But you could still like imagine a Royal Mile. You can still imagine the new town and the townhouse that Dr. Simpson was living in it, and like all that kind of stuff. So that really helps you actually get into the book.
Yeah.
Like literally from the first page, it describes like the weather and the architecture. I'm like, yay. So it was like, so I always love like, this is not like a period drama, but I love things that happened in the past. So that was really nice. But then also I think what really helped is, like it being set in the city that you know and really imagining it, how it goes. But it was like quite descriptive, and like, because it's, so basically the book is about a junior doctor or like trainee doctor, whatever they called them, an apprentice, that's what he called them. A doctor apprentice who started working with this doctor, and then there was a series of murders, and it's about how him and a maid from Dr. Simpson's house then got together to solve the murders.
Yeah.
And they did in the end. I'm not going to spoil to tell you who it was, but I figured it out quite like kind of early on. But also the good like 50% of the books is like leading up to all of that, which I find like the beginning I struggled with.
Yeah.
More than the end.
It's not a book that hooks you. It's not one of those crime mysteries that just hook you from
like
page
right
one.
away. Yeah, there's quite a big like build up to like introducing characters. Like there was quite a bit like on introducing them, but it was still like a fairly quick read. Like I was going through like maybe 10% of the book like in one sitting every time.
Yeah, I think once you're into the story, I felt like that because that's my favorite thing as well, the setting of it.
Yeah.
And actually Dr. Simpson's house, it's just on Queen Street still. There's like a little plaque there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you can, I think it's still called Simpson's house.
Oh, wow.
As in like whatever is there, they call it Simpson's house. I used to work on the corner of Queen Street, so when I was reading the book, I just went on my lunch break to see it. And there's also in Princess Street Gardens, like on the corner, there's a statue of him as well. So it's really interesting. Yeah, I was like, it's fascinating to think. Obviously, like he's the only real person that's in the book, but yeah, like you read, and I was like, I know where it is. I know the street.
Yeah, that's what like I really liked about it, and also like the fact that. So I actually I've read the book first, and then only after I decided to read about the author, because I didn't know it was two people.
Yeah,
I only found out about it's like a couple where he is a writer and his wife, she's like a doctor who also writes. So there was quite a lot of like elements from like the medical language. And it's also about the time in Edinburgh where anesthetic was only like getting discovered. And it's about the methods that they used to use. And I think it gives you like a perspective of how lucky we are
Oh yeah.
to have modern medicine, because the things they were doing to women who were like giving birth, and how even describing like the instruments they were working with was like quite, if you go to the surgeon's hall,
Oh yeah.
you can see all of those things and
I
you're like,
know.
what the hell? So yeah, that was like, it did give me the ick a few times. I'm like, ugh.
I know. I know. I absolutely agree. It's actually just crazy how far along
Yeah.
we came and like how comfortable we have it
How
again.
like how clean everything is nowadays, whereas in that time and how they were describing, literally I think it was the first scene where they came to see like a patient somewhere on, again, Royal Mile, somewhere like this, where like the stench was horrible, and there she is like giving birth, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I can't, like, honestly.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's insane how people lived back there. I think it was in one of the further books that kind of concentrated on the Leaf docks. Um,
And those were quite,
yeah, and those were also absolutely like it was a poor area.
yeah.
So, but if you like I quite like the combination of like the mystery, like you have crime, but you have like the medical
Yeah, I think
part of
I
it.
like the medical part of it. I quite often like a bit of like a nerdy part to it. Now, saying that, something I would really like to read is like a proper adventure book,
Ooh,
like
yeah.
maybe like Indiana Jones vibes.
Yeah, something that like reads like a movie.
Yeah. So, and if that was set in Scotland, fantastic. Might need to actually search for something like this.
Maybe you can write it. Pretty much to finish up,
Mm-hmm.
we have a little lightning round of quick questions.
Okay.
So, what is the last book that made you cry?
Whew. I think it was definitely during Akatar. It didn't like properly make me cry, but it did make me like tear up a little. And then there was another book that I have actually abandoned before that. Can't remember the name of it. I will try and add it to the show notes because it's in my house. But it was like quite a sad friendship to love story. And the guy who was there, he was like a little bit disabled. So it was like a very, like, I did like almost cry at one point, so that was sad. But apart from that, I'm not usually the one to cry as much.
Yeah, I'm not a huge book cry person. I'm more of a like movie.
Oh yeah,
Like
I
when
will sob.
I think I need a visual.
Yeah.
Like I was watching a TV show like literally last week and I was crying my eyes out. But the book, I don't remember what was the last book that made me cry. Is there a book you pretended to have read, but
I feel like
you
there
really
was quite a
haven't?
lot in the school time,
Yeah, but
because
that's
like, yeah, that's really like, we had quite long lists of literature we had to get through the summer, and I was like, I didn't don't really want to read this or that, the next thing, so I would read like a review and
yeah.
then
Did you
pretend
have like little? You could get like a little
like
book,
an
like a
extract or
yeah.
something. Yeah, so that's, yeah.
Yeah, I was the same. I definitely did not read all the books that we were supposed to read, especially like once I was in high school and I was a bit older. I was like, I don't really want to do this.
Yeah.
Now that I'm an adult, I don't pretend. Like I don't
Yeah, I'm
feel the
like,
need like to pretend I've read a book. So nothing there. What is you think a most overrated popular book?
hmm. Well, I don't know, because I would have had to have read it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I look at the book descriptions and it's like it's going crazy on like BookTok. And I look at the description of the book, I'm like, it doesn't sound that very interesting to me. So there was quite a lot of those. But
Yeah,
not like, can't say one or two what.
I'm the same. I kind of got to the point where I have a general idea what's gonna click for me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's definitely when I watch Book Talk, there's definitely very questionable books
Yeah.
sometimes that become popular. And again, I'm not saying for like the reason like oh it's romantasy or whatever because that's not the reason. But there was a book I've never read it. It was a romance, but I think it was like borderline incest
Ugh.
of like a girl with her uncle or
No,
something.
I wouldn't
And
want
you
to
see
read
like
that.
that kind of stuff and like then because it worries me because young people are reading these books, and that's my only issue with romance books. A lot of them show very unhealthy
Yeah,
relationships.
like the and then also like set like weird expectations of the relationships
Yeah.
or like sexual relationships as well.
Yeah, I agree as well, and especially like a lot of romance books follows those like tropes, as in like enemies to lovers or like
Yeah, it's like a little bit
grumpy
of
and
abusive
sunshine.
vibes as well.
It is because you have like I get it, it works in a book, but in a lot of them, you for example have a guy that completely ignores the main character, and she's just like so in love with
Still
him,
desperate
like
and
desperate for his attention, and obviously they end up together, and then it turns out he was always in love with her or whatever. But like in real life, if a
doesn't always
guy
happen.
yeah, if a guy doesn't want you, he doesn't want you. For and I think I was like that a little bit as well. I remember when I watched all these like romantic comedies and stuff, because that was the thing when I was growing up, and it did set up some very weird expectations. But I think some of those books are even worse with it. And yeah, like there's some borderline abusive behaviors, and not like physical abuse, but a lot of mental abuse, or those characters accepting things for love which are not a signs of love, if that makes sense. So maybe that, I don't know what the book was, I don't know the title, but any book that is like this, because that's again the thing, because there's a lot of books obviously that talk about difficult subjects, but it's how you talk about this, because it's romanticizing it. That's what I don't like.
Yeah.
Is there a book that changed your perspective on something?
It's okay, so it is a book and I think you got it for me. It's literally just called that 100 essays that will change your life.
Oh yeah.
I obviously like I haven't read all 100, but sometimes when I'm like feeling like a little kind of like pick me up kind of vibe, and it takes like 5 minutes literally to read one of 10, those are really good. They are like they make you think like in a slightly different way, or if you're like having a tough day or a week, you can literally just like like just go through the book and pick like something that you feel like you need, and then you read that and it's like really nice. Another one, not like changed my perspective, but actually maybe changed my life in a little bit,
Okay.
is the Habits book. What I can't remember what it's
Atomic
called.
Habits.
Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Oh, amazing
It's
book.
literally like since I've read that book, now I have absolutely zero excuses not to pick up like a new thing or make my life better, because I know exactly how to do it thanks to
Yeah.
that book. And he has an amazing newsletter that gets sent every Thursday, and there's like I think 3 ideas from him, 2 ideas from others, and one question.
Yeah. I love
So
that
good. It's
newsletter.
like like a really good part of like it literally takes 5 minutes to read, but I don't know, weirdly like resets your brain.
Yep, it's great.
What about you? Any life changing or perspective changing books?
Um, I really enjoyed. That's gonna be completely on the other side of things, I think. But there is a book. Actually, it's here because I don't remember the title. Where are you? It's called Making Evil. One of my favorite books of all time, and it's nonfiction. It's amazing. So it is on the concept of evil and if people actually are
Okay.
evil. The book is absolutely amazing. So that's one of the books, and kind of tying with it. I don't remember the title of it. Oh, the devil,
I heard about that book.
something like that, and it's written by. I'm pretty sure she's a clinical psychiatrist that worked in a prison, and it describes some of the cases, like some of the people she worked with that committed crimes. But it's so humanizing, because I think that's what happens a lot. Like we dehumanize people that committed crimes,
Yeah.
because it really, but that's the only thing you see. You see that like one really bad thing they've done, but you don't see any circumstances and anything leading up to it, or their upbringing and things like that. So it was very, very fascinating. It's a great read. It makes you have like, I feel like, more empathy towards, at least it was like that for me. It made me think less in black and white about
Okay.
these people, which both fantastic books. Well, that was fun. I need to get back to reading.
I know.
It
It makes me
actually,
excited about
yeah.
reading again, and I think that's what I'm gonna do tonight. Just read something.
Thank you so much again for joining us and listening. We hope you enjoyed this. If you have any book recommendations for us, please let us know.
I think we'll leave a question box, but you can also
Yeah.
pop it like anywhere in the comments or send us a DM. And if you feel like there's like a particular book we absolutely must read, like do
Yeah.
let us know. I think the book community is so large nowadays that there would definitely
Yes.
will be some people who will be like, oh my God, they must read this.
Yeah, what should we read next? You tell us. Maybe if you give us book recommendations, maybe that's what we could do. We could read some of your recommendations and discuss them
Yep.
in one of the future episodes. So that'd be fun. So please recommend your favorite books and what we should read. We will also post some of our recommendations on our socials. So make sure to follow us at Matcha Morning Club on Instagram, TikTok, wherever, all socials. We are there. Follow us for more good book recs.
So thanks so much for spending another hour with us. And as always, we will be live again on a Tuesday morning. So we'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.